Hello. I am going to continue to talk about 5-note melodic figures. These are downbeat to downbeat figures using a regular rhythm. So 5 quarter notes, 5/8 notes, 5/16 notes. There, it's a downbeat to downbeat figure. So we've already talked about the prime embellishment, the 5-note double neighbor, and the 5-note skip step. Now we're going to talk about the 5-note neighbor motion. So again, for this one, you need a downbeat to downbeat third going up or down. And it looks a lot like the skip step in some ways, or think about it as a backward skip step. But maybe let me just show you how this works. So essentially, you want to first create a neighbor note motion. So in this case, there's our neighbor. Then it continues moving up to the downbeat, which then is a downbeat to downbeat third. So notice we have the neighbor note figure that then gets extended over the bar line. So for this one, you're always, when you find your third interval, you're always moving away from the interval. So you're moving down first, even though eventually you're going to be moving up. So in this case, where we have a third going down, we're going to move up first. Okay, and again, downbeat to downbeat third. Okay, let me show you both of these then with 16th notes, because of course you can see them as 16th notes as well as 8th notes at any time where you have a regular rhythm. So this would be the same pattern as 16th notes. Of course, there's only one option. We don't have a bunch of options for this. If your third is going up, this is what this is going to look like. Okay, and if your third is going down, this is what it would look like. Okay, so there is the 5-note neighbor motion, or the 5-note neighbor for the instrumental figure. Okay, on to the next page. We have 2 more to go for this video, and then we still have some more melodic figures to talk about for this chapter 18 and chapter 20 from the Charles Horton and Ritchey. The most straightforward is a 5-note passing. It's just passing all the way up. You have to have a 5th for this to work, but this is just a 5-note passing right here. Okay, and if we did this with 16th notes, it would be like this, the same thing. So downbeat to downbeat or beat to beat 5-note passing. Again, it can be up or it can be down. All right, our final, and this is the most interesting one here, is a polyphonic melody. And this can take a number of different, it can look at in a number of different ways, but there's 2 things that will help you recognize it. So the first thing is essentially the polyphonic melody. It's implying 2 melodies. So you have, so it's like it's one line that's implying 2 lines. So this Bach does this all the time. So in the polyphonic melody, the background structure, you have to think about this in half notes. The background structure is a 3-note melodic figure. Okay, so the most common one to do here, and I'm going to mark it down below so we can see how this figure moves. The background figure that you would all be used to seeing for 3 notes would be a passing, right? So let's do that passing. Okay, that's how we would often fill in a third with passing, but I'll show a different one in a moment too. So with a polyphonic melody, you then will leap in between. So to create 5 notes here, downbeat to downbeat 5 notes, we'll now leap on the weak beats, or on the most weak notes of the figure, to a chord tone. So for instance, if this chord here was A, C, and E, then you would need to leap to an E or to a C, and that remains the same for both of those weak beats. So let's do this. Okay, so there's my first note. You leap, let's do the simple one. Let's just leap to a C. And then we leap to that passing note, which can be dissonant. Doesn't matter, we're still thinking of that background structure. You leap back to the same note, and this is what's really important. Whatever you've put on those weak beats has to remain the same, and that's how you can recognize this figure. Okay, so you can see, here's our background cantus. We've put in our passing, that's gonna be one voice. The other voice is like it's holding a C, which is a chord tone. So you're leaping to a chord tone. This can be any 3-note melodic figure as long as it works. So let's do another one right here in these next two so you can see how this works again. So again, my first note is a C. Oh, sorry, my first note is an A. Okay, so my first note is an A. Let's say that this chord was A, C, E, so we could do a skip step. We could leap to an E. Okay, and then our next chord would be something different, but we're going to an F. Okay, so now we have our A, C, E background. Now again, I'm going to leap to that C in this case because that's my chord, A, C, and E. Okay, so in this case, this is how this one will sound. Okay, so notice my background skip step, and my polyphonic melody means it's exactly the same note on those weak beats. You can't change those notes. It has to be these weak beat notes. For it to be a polyphonic melody, it has to have two of the same note on those weak beats. So then you would name this, I haven't been doing this for all the figures, but you would name this like this, and we call this a polyphonic melody. So we would do this. Okay, so those are the most straightforward. Those are all our 5-note instrumental melodic figures.